Starting early today, catching them off guard.
That's it.
Hey everybody, this is the Jimmy Doane Show. I'm Counselor Curtis. I'm here with Jimmy Doane.
That's the end of the show.
And that's it. Hey, look at that Gene. He's right there.
He shows up.
We thought we'd caught you a little off guard. No. All right. So anyway, we do this live. That's how you can tell. 4 o'clock Wednesdays and Sundays. We are right here on this Facebook channel. Also, I'll post a timestamp copy. All the subjects by time separated out. For your convenience. It's really easy. Each one comes to, somewhere around 5 to 10 minutes depending. And I'll try to get everything. Also, you can find us on audio format over on iTunes and Libsyn and other places you can find audio podcasts. Find us, like us, share us.
That way you won't have to look at us.
Twitter, all of that, everything. So, all right, let's see what we got here. Whoops.
What happened?
There we are.
All right, good.
It's a party.
Okay, it's a party.
Uh-huh.
Lots of news today. Lots of news. Unfortunately, it all came this morning.
Okay.
And I didn't have a chance to put it in today's.
What? You can't say
yes,
that.
I can. Yes, I can. I just
No, you can't.
You have to.
Hit the dump.
Okay. Well, we had enough stuff here. Starting off, the Brexit Party. This is the election.
Okay.
Okay, has stormed to victory in a landslide European elections for Nigel Farage, I guess it is.
Uh-huh.
Labour and the Tories suffered a disastrous night as Remain and Leave voters turned away to other parties with clearer messages on Brexit. The pro-EU Liberal Democrats had a great night, I'm not sure what that is, showing about deep divisions by the Brexit referendum which continues to dominate British products, which figured,
yeah.
which is what happened.
It's a huge deal if this country manages to separate from that type of bureaucracy through a vote without a war.
Right.
It'll be the first time in history, the biggest example. It'll be amazing.
Yeah, it is.
So those bonds are being tested right now.
Well, that's right, and it's interesting because that, as you say, that will set up a unique, thing, so that everybody can fall back on that and say, "Look what happened without a war."
Yeah, and it's so interesting. It looks as though the economic interests are so great, even in the separation,
right,
that it outweighs what a war. Normally, I guess a war would be like, look, if we can't, we're going to come over there and destroy you. If we can't have you, nobody can have you, right?
Yeah,
and nobody's going to do that in the modern West. There's too much.
In the West, maybe. Yeah, right.
We stand too much to gain from all the trade.
Yeah, well, it'll be fascinating because the people that want the Brits to stay in, mainly the Belgians, or Brussels, excuse me.
Yeah.
They are clawing back. They're doing everything they can to. It's interesting.
Right. Well, they're not launching on anybody.
No. That. What I'm saying is that those people, the bureaucrats in Brussels, are desperate not to lose whatever it is,
Sure.
the income from.
Well, like you said, look, what we've identified several times, obviously wrapped up in the EU, in this treaty that keeps Britain in, are all kinds of major, serious economic interests.
Right, and all special interests too, by the way.
Well, sure. That's that's why I say interests.
That's
as
why
opposed
it's
to
hundreds and hundreds of pages.
Right, and it's not just open. So, while we won't see war, what I bet we might see, or would be interesting right now, I'll bet you there's a lot of James Bond shit happening.
Really?
If there's any time that it would be happening, I would think now would be the time. A little assassination here, a little
really
intimidation there, because they're not going full out war, but the interests are billions and billions and tens of billions of dollars. There's got to be people who's
euros.
Well, yeah,
pounds.
Euros, exactly. There has to be people with billions of euros at stake. And at that level, look, if anybody's going to murder anybody in any kind of a high-profile thing, if you believe that stuff happens at all.
No, I don't know.
I never defended anybody who was like, well, I was a spy.
Yeah.
All the murders are like Billy Joe Bob kills his girlfriend's brother or something. And
yeah, well, of course, that one guy on the dossier, he admitted to be a spy or whatever it was.
Well, look, we do have spies.
Yeah, I know.
And they probably, every once in a while you see a story. Like there was a story in France not too long ago where some high-profile family wiped out. This family just got wiped. They were on vacation in the Alps or something, and it was the minister of something, and everybody showed up and just people, bloody, body parts, whatever.
Yeah.
And it was, and they said, well, this was a professional job, so somebody does it.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
What we know just from empirically, that the people who are outside of normal law enforcement circles are certainly willing to engage in that for the protection of their interests.
Even the ones that are inside,
Well, that's what I'm saying, is if there's anything going on the inside, now's the time.
MI7.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay. Well, along this same line, I thought this was interesting. Boris Johnson. Allies claim impending trial over lying and misleading to public is an attempt to reverse the Brexit. What happened was Boris Johnson is one of these people that put this big bus up before the election, and he said basically, let's get out. And he says, we're sending Brussels $350 million a week, a month, a year, whatever it is. This is killing us. And so it turns out that, to put it as a wild exaggeration, is true. I mean, I guess it's true. I mean, 350 million pounds, I forget what it was, I think it was a week, 350 million pounds a week. Allegations that he lied during the during the 2016 EU referendum when he claimed that the UK handed 350 million a week to Brussels. So the Conservative leadership candidate has been summoned to appear in court today. A written judgment handed down on Wednesday said that last Wednesday, I guess, having considered all of the relevant factors, I am satisfied that this is a proper case to issue the summons as requested for the 3 offenses of misconduct in public office. Mr. Johnson denies the misconduct in public office, which carries a maximum sentence of life imprisonment.
Oh my God!
Life imprisonment. Now wait a minute. Here's. I saw a picture of it. I should have sent it over to you. I saw a picture of it. It was a huge bus, and along the side it says, "We're sending $350 million a day or week or whatever it was a week to pounds a week to Brussels." And so this was, and I guess he's in office already. He was in office with the.
Yeah, he was the mayor or something.
Yeah, whatever. So they're going to they are summoning him, and if they prove it, I guess. Life in prison.
This is a weird. We've entered this sort of Inquisition-ish type of
the
phase.
Spanish Inquisition.
That's right. Nobody. Look, it's kind of like that, because if you think about it, what does this statement mean? And how much influence could it possibly have had?
Exactly. I mean, and here's the deal. What have happened if he'd said 350 trillion?
Right. Exactly.
Give me a break.
Right. And so this is to me,
exaggeration is now a crime for life.
Well, right. And I can think of 3 different interpretations of this statement. Like, 1, that's our trade imbalance. Okay, so we're sending them that money or something, or 2, that's their actual direct payment, which is what I guess he was implying, which really is, what is that, 10 billion a year? That's not a lot of money. I mean,
well, it's a little more than that, but 350 million, that's a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pounds. I don't know. It's
$1 billion a month. $1.33 billion a month.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So 52 billion a year.
Right. So 15. No, a month. $1 billion a month. 15
right.
billion.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Yeah.
So
right.
I mean, that's not. Yeah, that's chump change, man.
Well,
we spend that on
even
our.
for Britain.
Well, almost. We spend that on our drug war or whatever.
That's true.
But yeah, I guess Britain is a little smaller. But yeah, I'm with you, man. Craziness. But so what? Is this their attack on him or what? So why? I thought you just said for
what happened was that there was a girl, one person.
Right.
She put together a GoFundMe page to sue this guy for lying, and apparently, and I don't have the
to
entire
sue
article.
Boris Johnson.
Yeah, to sue him.
Okay.
She put together a GoFundMe page that apparently raised something like 200,000 whatever they are over there money.
Yeah.
And so she's gone and suing him on this, and they went to court. He denies it, of course, and they went to court, and the judge said, well, you have legal standing, and so let's go forward. So then they issued a summons for him to show up,
right?
And he said, screw it, I'm not going there for this. This is
well,
crazy.
Okay, so this could be a very preliminary.
No, totally. Okay. Oh, yeah. But again, just the
fact may get thrown out at the next level.
It should have.
They may not have reached the level of where, hey, is this a bunch of BS? throw it
Well,
out.
the judge, said, the judge apparently took enough of it.
Prima facie.
Something.
Yeah.
A taxi driver who put a sticker, this is another Brit thing, a taxi driver who put a sticker combining the Union Jack and the Polish flag on his car window has been ordered to take it down because it isn't welcoming, quote unquote. Wait a minute now. Greg Rojawiecki, Polish guy obviously, was told his sticker is now banned because the council in the city where he has his taxi received a single complaint. Polish-born Greg has lived and worked in Stratford-on-Avon, hi, Shakespeare, since 2004 and put a sticker on his taxi 3 years ago and had the two flags, kind of crisscrossed or whatever it was. And he said it was meant to indicate to his passengers that he could speak both languages. Well, the Stratford District Council ordered him to remove the stick, saying only an appropriate only an appropriate sign should be displayed. They defended.
Are you surprised? I mean, here we are covering Britain now is going off. They're into La La Land in terms.
Well, it's what it is. It turns out that one of the things. The problem was not so much that it was inappropriate, but that he had failed to get permission.
Right, didn't get a license.
That's right.
Be inappropriate.
Displaying on his taxi. A spokesperson said each item is carefully considered to ensure the taxi fleet remain welcoming in appearance to all passengers who use their services regardless of nationality. So and it says he said, it makes perfect sense to me. There's a lot of Poles living in England, and
well, you would always want to indicate whatever language, second language.
Maybe you're supposed to say, Parles Polski or something.
Yeah, well, whatever. I mean,
but the point is that you didn't get permission.
Right. Now, was this the taxi authority over there?
It was the city council.
Okay.
Which is the taxi authority.
Okay. Well, yeah, and so look, they're in communist. There are over the falls. If you want to see where it goes from here in terms of regulation.
Well, where it could very well go here. I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
You can see that interestingly enough, in this country, the market system has pretty much destroyed the medallion system in New York.
I was just about to say, that guy over here, it sounds like a perfect Uber driver.
Yeah.
Or, you can put whatever you want in your damn car. It's your car.
That's right.
And, or Lyft, whatever it is, and that takes care of that. But again, we're talking about Britain.
Well, that's true. And of course, I don't know in Stratford-on-Avon what the rules are, but I think in London they've restricted the Uber cars now.
I think so. I was just going to say.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And in a way, it's kind of interesting. In a way, just a small digression. Sure. Excuse me, I'm coming back.
Go.
I'm coming back. But it's interesting because one of the things it takes years for the real taxi drivers, licensed taxi drivers, to learn everything. I mean, they have to learn the names in London, for God's sakes. They have to know where every place is and how to get there during the right time of day.
If you grew up there, though, you would know all that stuff kind of instinctively.
Pardon me?
If you grew up there, you would know all that.
Well, no. Well, you say that, but look, I don't know where every place is here in Gainesville. I mean,
man, I know down to the lane at which in between.
Well, you make a good taxi driver. Then I used to be in real estate, and I knew a lot about the subdivisions.
There
and so
you
forth.
go.
And of course, one thing is here in Gainesville, we have a coordinate system that's north and south, east and west, and you can pretty much tell where you're supposed to be just by thinking about that. But my point is that. In London, no such thing. Marylebone Lane or something like.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, you got to be kidding me. And some of these are like really little short places.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Well, it must have been a lot harder before the GPS. Now you can.
I was just coming to that. Mm-hmm. The point is now you have a GPS. What the taxi cab drivers say is the GPS is fine, but you don't know except that there might be a jam up on Marylebone Lane,
right?
That says to go that way.
Well, now your Waze tells you that.
That's what now. You're right. Your Waze does. So
yeah.
And even I think Google Maps even tells you some of that. I mean, I noticed that.
No, it's amazing the differences. Like one of my friends was in Hawaii, and I I recommended them. I said, "Oh, find my other friend, and he'll take you to this secret waterfall." And I thought, "What am I talking about? Like nothing's secret anymore."
Yeah.
Like it's on Google Maps somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, it's labeled secret waterfall.
So of course it pops up all over the place.
Well, you know, so
19 secret. Which secret waterfall do you want?
that's right.
The California Senate, in its infinite wisdom, California, which is going,
Oh yeah, I know.
which is just getting ready. I think what they're hoping for is the San Andreas Fault will finally put it in the Pacific, because California Senate votes to house inmates by gender identity.
Right.
What could possibly go wrong? Inmates in California prisons would be housed by their gender identity, according to a bill. Now, it hasn't been passed yet. California Senate voted 29-7 on Thursday to require California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation to ask inmates their gender identity and put them in prisons designed for that gender. Now, you can imagine what that's going to look like when some guy walks in there and says, "I'm a girl. I identify as a girl." Wink, wink.
Yeah.
Nudge, nudge.
And sure, why not?
Well, sure, why not? The only exception would be if the department believed it would pose a significant security risk. Well, you know, who's making that? I mean, first of all, they're making this judgment on a stupid thing to begin with, and now they're as a stopgap. Well, we'll figure out if it's a security risk or not. How about not doing it in the first place? The bill would require the department to refer to inmates by their preferred gender pronoun. Now,
That'd be funny.
well, 62 gender pronoun, 28. How many are there?
Right. Nope, try again.
Yeah. And the bill's author, Senator
you'd be
Scott
like,
Wiener.
no, he called me by the wrong 47 different pronouns before he got the right one.
Yeah.
So I'm suing.
Yeah,
For
whatever.
intentional infliction of emotional distress.
Transgender women put in prisons with men are often assaulted and raped and put in isolation for their safety.
I was just going to say, look, here's the way it comes down to.
You're a woman and you identify as a guy, so you go into the guy's prison. How long do you think it's going to... I mean, if you're a guy, you get raped. I mean, seriously. You're a guy, you get raped.
Yeah. No.
So
this
here
is
you are.
true, and that's what I was just about to say. is that look? First of all, look, I appreciate the sentiment and everything. You know, look, you can decide you are whatever you want, okay? But people are going to treat you the way that they see you, and for purposes of being incarcerated, you have no rights. The whole point is we're limiting your freedom. We're limiting your association in all kinds of ways. We're going to put you in solitary confinement if we want to. I mean, we're going to do whatever we want. But they can't allegedly put you in places which endanger you, so they put you in solitary confinement on top of that. So this kind of a bill, the effect would be all the trans people would be put in solitary confinement, which is horrifying for a human, really.
Well, I wonder if they put, all of the trans women in one group and, cell block 9 and trans men in another group.
Well, let me tell you, at least in Miami even, 20 years ago, it didn't matter if you were dressed as a woman and like, I guess, transitioning, you were put in the men's holding cell.
Right.
I've defended, trans people in those situations. They're growing their beard and whatever, and and they haven't shaved. But it just is what it is. But look, that's all, like you said, like they said, the pullback here is it's about safety. At the end of the day, they're going to put you wherever they want to put you. Mm-hmm. And that usually means separating men and women, no matter how you identify.
Yeah.
Because there's just...
Not in California.
Well, we'll see. That's not going to work. I mean, it's just not going to work.
No, of course. But the funny thing is, it was voted on 29-7.
Well, it's a look, this is the super hot topic button right now. Super hot issue right now. And we're seeing
even more than climate change? Which is a hot issue.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Look, this is... it's coming out in two different areas. It's coming out in the women's sports arena.
Yes. And there was another one, by the way, just recently I heard on. We had the weightlifter,
right?
But there was one here recently.
Well, she was disqualified, the weightlifter.
I know, but there was another one that was a runner.
Okay.
And again, one.
Well, there's a Supreme Court ruling this week that had to do with bathrooms.
Really?
Yeah, and allowing people in a state to go to their gender specified bathroom at their school, and the Supreme Court did not take up the appeal, which allows the ruling to stand, which means the kids in that state get to choose their bathrooms. I think it was Missouri or someplace, some state.
Well, of course, this month, June, coming up June, don't their whole flood of stuff come out of the Supreme Court? Don't they announce a whole bunch of things that have
yeah, that sounds right.
I mean, it's the end of the term.
Yeah.
And they usually pump out about 15 or 20.
I always forget when the timing is of those things.
It's usually in June, as I recall, and then they get July and August and September off.
Okay.
Until first Monday in October. Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa, we're on a roll here. I looked. It went up like $2,000. Well, no.
Oh, yeah.
It went over 10 grand on the some kind of a market. I fixed not the actual Bitcoin market,
okay.
but it was a forward market that
right.
they have. But still, it's been 8,800 or something like that.
Yeah.
This morning or yesterday or something.
Yeah.
Bitcoin threatens to take. So, and it was like just. Let me put it this way: it's like doubled so far in the last 2-3 weeks.
Certainly, this year it's up 140% or something.
Bitcoin has roared back over the last few weeks to what many feared was a terminal decline since its peak in 2017 has been. And of course, what's happened is, guess what? People are coming out now. The Federal Reserve and some other people are getting scared. As I say, it was $6,600 like 2 weeks ago, and 8,800, yesterday or something.
They didn't touch it. They didn't touch it last time. When it went to 10,000. You talking about regulation? You're worried about the regulation?
Yeah, right, exactly.
Uh-huh.
Well, that's right. And now on this recent little run up, because it's been this fast, the threat to existing financial system and the central banks that run it, though these claims in the past have been fringe ideas, the idea. Right. The Bitcoin price now hovering around 8,000 per Bitcoin, double what it was to begin the year at, has been closely tied to public awareness of cryptocurrency. And the latest Bitcoin bull run is beginning in early April, restarted the debate. Now, the U.S. Democrat Congressman Brad Sherman has urged his colleagues to consider banning Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies due to the threat they pose to U.S. international financial power, saying Bitcoin needs to be nipped in the bud.
Yeah.
Bitcoin, which allows its users to move value around the world beyond the sight and reach of governments and law enforcement, is often criticized by government and law enforcement, I might add, for its ability to help terrorists, criminals, and tax evaders. So that's the main thing is, we have control of the money supply in our private Federal Reserve System, and we're not going to give it up. And so we're going to enlist the government with its guns to make it illegal. Well, that'll be interesting to see if they can do it.
Well, yeah, and I think we may see whatever they're going to try before too long. If I'm right, I think when the next crash happens, here's my prediction.
Okay, good.
Always wrong. Curtis is always wrong predictions.
No, always ahead of the curve.
Yeah, so far ahead it won't happen. So what I'm thinking is at the next crash, the next real reset, I think that the Federal Reserve will again drop interest rates.
Doing those QEs.
Exactly, and go bananas and all that stuff. And then you will see some more ideas like that floated around. Stop Bitcoin, stop those things.
Well, as we mentioned last time, of course, the guy who was thrown in jail because
von Nothaus, because he made the silver dollars.
Any little minor threat. I would imagine, for instance, I would guess that if you minted a correct me on this, if you minted a $20
Guilty.
Huh? Guilty, right. If you minted a 92% pure gold replica.
Man.
Replica.
You take a big chance. Go ahead.
Because that's the $20 gold pieces were 92% gold.
Okay.
They were 22 karat.
Okay.
So if you mint a 22 karat replica of a piece, $20 gold piece, so it's exactly the same. I mean, seriously, it is exactly the same.
We know
it's
you're
gold.
in there. Right.
It's gold, and it's a mint. It's a replica, perfect replica of a $20 gold.
Oh.
Now, what's interesting is
I was actually a little bit alarmed when I heard that ISIS was coining gold money,
yeah,
because I thought, wow, they're the only state that I know of that was going to have a stable currency.
state, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
But they're gone. So
Yeah, that's true. Well, it is
Apparently.
interesting because what would you charge somebody if you did a replica, let's say, of a $20 gold piece, and it was what it was? I mean, there's going to be $1,300 worth of gold in it.
Yeah.
So
You give yourself a nice markup. I mean, you can make a ton of cash if you just went double the normal purchase markup, which is 3 or 4% or something. But I think you could get away with. I mean, von Nothaus was selling $20. He was selling 1 ounce silvers for $20 a piece when silver was $5 an ounce.
okay, right.
So he was quadrupling.
Right.
That's why everybody was laughing at him at first.
Yeah.
They were like, "Ha! Are you crazy to buy that stuff from him? Nobody's ever going to buy it." And of course, it's just a collector's item. But then, when silver roared up past $20, everybody's like, wait.
Yeah.
So,
And like you say, he had put the horrible word. I wonder if you could put dollar in quotes on there. I guess that you still wouldn't get away with it.
it's weird.
You misspell it? DOLER?
Yeah, exactly. Right.
How much is different? No, what are you talking about? So that'd be great. Okay, next item I've got here. Wikipedia is broken, controlled by special interests and bad actors, says the co-founder. And it's interesting because Scott Adams was talking about this, and he said he went on. He's on a kind of a roll here about being demonetized and so forth. And we talked a little bit about this. And of course, you play the hand you're dealt. Big deal, you get demonetized. They're not telling him why. He's all upset about that. Screw it. They do whatever they want to do. Private company. But anyway, Wikipedia. Apparently, a lot of people are saying that since at the beginning, Wikipedia was one of those things that anybody could go in there and make an editorial change.
Yeah.
And you kind of had to tell who you were and so forth. But then it got to the point where people were spamming some of the entries and putting in stuff that just didn't matter. So then I think that Wikipedia put up some monitors of some kind, certified monitors that would investigate this stuff. I'm not sure how they did it, but Scott Adams was talking about different people that would go back. In fact, this co-founder said that even his page in Wikipedia was 20% or 30% wrong. And of course, that's why Scott Adams and some other people are saying you can't believe anything anymore. Snopes has got problems, Wikipedia and so forth. And I suppose that there's.
I mean, for half of my stuff on there, they've got my name as Matthew McConaughey.
Really? Yeah. Right, there you go. Yeah. So anyway, it's an encyclopedia that anyone can edit. It became a vehicle for special interest to control the information. And again, this is one of the things that you see with Facebook and these other places where there are monitors of some kind or another. And now Wikipedia, apparently, according to this co-founder, has fallen into the same trap as. Although they have a lot of different monitors, but with Facebook, well, in Facebook and YouTube and these people, they have algorithms to try and figure some of this stuff out. And I guess,
And the people control the algorithms.
That's right.
So I'm sure. Well, I don't know. I guess they got to have editors of some type.
Of course.
That go through there and comb
Well,
through
when you go in and correct it, you're kind of an editor.
Yeah, and they probably use just algorithms for stuff like curse words and things like that.
Yeah, maybe. I guess. So anyway, Larry Sanger is the co-founder, and he was the one that said these biographies are just two examples of ones that blatantly violate Wikipedia's strict rules, yet they are set in stone. The powerful interests that, quote, watch and control the pages make sure Offit's background, whoever this Offit guy is whitewashed, and that mine is subtly tarnished. So I'm not sure exactly what that's all about. But anyway, the deal is that now, I suppose a lot of stuff that's on Wikipedia is incontrovertible, I think.
You can cross-reference.
You can cross-reference. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
If you're going to talk about the
You
War of
have to do that
1812,
with anything these
President Rutherford Hayes or something,
Right.
I would imagine you could go ahead and crisscross that.
Yeah.
So anyway,
72 ways.
51 attorneys general call on Betsy DeVos to cancel up to 42,000 disabled veterans' student debts. Of course, she's the Department of Education secretary. In a letter sent to Education Secretary Betsy DeVos on Friday, 51 attorneys general called on the Education Secretary to automatically cancel disabled veterans' student debt, something that's not done.
Why would the attorneys generals care?
Again, what they said in the letter, they said, as a nation, which always scares me. As soon as I hear out right away, as a nation, I'm saying,
As a nation of prosecutors? What I mean,
as
why?
a nation, no, the 300.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, who got these people together to write this letter? Like, what?
I don't know. They
Get together at the annual.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Attorneys
The attorneys
general,
general, of course,
prosecutor.
of course.
No, I mean I know they see each other then, but I'm just wondering where this came from. Why would they care about student debt?
Because as a nation, we have a moral obligation to assist those who have put their lives on the line to defend us.
Okay, but again, why is that the concern of the prosecutors? And how is
I don't know
what they're doing?
It's not. That's why it made news to me.
Okay.
I'm sitting there thinking, what are these guys? Where's their dog in this game?
Right, that's what I'm saying. I mean, are they prosecuting too many disabled veterans for lack of payment of their student debt?
Could be. I get maybe that's where it came from.
Well, then don't prosecute them. You got the prosecutorial discretion.
Yeah.
So don't prosecute.
Well, I would imagine though that you say that, but well, of course, yeah, that's something else.
You give them
the banks that have made the loan, I suppose, since they're not foreclosable or not, you can't get out of the debt by bankruptcy. If a bank has made the loan and it sues the veteran for repayment,
well, then the prosecutor doesn't have to worry about it because then that's the bank's attorney.
Right. Okay. All right. You're right. You're right. Okay. So I thought it was interesting, and that was the first question, as you asked, is what are these guys doing?
Yeah, and then when it comes down to the student debt, look, everybody wants to have the student debt wiped out. Me too. That would be great. But why would the disabled veterans get that type of special treatment?
That's what I was saying. You know what? And of course, how disabled are you?
Well, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
You lost both legs and an arm, or wait a minute, no, you get 3/4 of your student debt.
Well, or Jesus. But certainly, I would hope that there's already some compensation built in. For disability,
there are disability. I mean, there are stuff, and I do know from personal experience that
maybe they're asked. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think that there's some hoops that you have to jump through. I know in order to get.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe they're asking Betsy DeVos as the head of the executive. In charge of that, maybe she can just wave a wand and say, "Oh, we're not going after those people" or whatever. But still,
but I don't think she has that power.
Well, unless they're in government-backed loans,
right? That's what I'm saying. But other than that,
yeah.
Okay, I don't know. It just to me, I was looking at God love you. 52,000, however many, 42,000 disabled vets.
Whenever I hear some program I'm like, well, help them out yourself.
Well, not only that, the as I mentioned just now, how I lost a thumb versus I'm hobbled for life or what? I mean, what the hell? And disabled? How about mentally disabled?
Right. I was just going to say
we got that all over the place.
Well, or I was shaken up, and like my loan stricken.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Now here's another thing. I love this. The Trump administration plans to sell new weapons to Saudis. Despite Congress and lawmakers, the Congress objections, the Trump administration will push through $8.1 billion in new weapons sales to Saudi Arabia and its allies, arguing that the, quote, Iranian aggression presents a national security emergency which gives the president authority to bypass congressional objections. Now, no offense, but Trump, and Ms. Jimmy, is going to hate me for this because she's a Trump worshiper. I mean, she's... But I'll tell you, this is amazing to me on a couple of levels, is that the bypass of Saudi Arabia, of all people, I mean, this is a sop to our arms industry. Because we're going to basically give...
Does this article determine, does it say anything about how much we normally sell to Saudi Arabia? Does it say,
no,
over and above our normal arms sales?
It doesn't say that, but what it does say is that apparently, generally speaking, the Congress has to sign off on anything like this.
Okay.
And so they're not going to. They haven't brought it up. They're not going to do this. This is an extra 8.1 bill.
Yeah.
And so
I find that hard to believe that that the executive wouldn't have a plenary authority there.
well, that's what I'm saying. He's claiming. That's the whole thing.
That he does. Okay.
Under national security emergency.
Right,
Same thing
okay.
for the wall.
Right, yeah.
And that kind of stuff. And suddenly, of course, you know, my thinking is, wait a minute. This is arms to Saudi Arabia because Iran is a threat to our national security. And of course, you know, Saudi Arabia is not exactly the most liberal country on the planet. I mean, yeah. And so, but this is clearly a sop to, you know, Boeing and the arms dealer people and so forth. I mean,
well, okay. It also could be sure. Okay, so we've been doing that. We do that a lot. We give.
oh, I know
money
that. I'm just saying in this particular case,
Uh-huh.
the fact is that we've done this a lot, but normally Congress signs off on it. And so these sales, as he says, these sales will support our allies, enhance Middle East stability, which I'm thinking, wait.
Whenever I want stability, I send a bunch of arms to the region.
and help these nations deter and defend themselves from the Islamic Republic of Iran. Secretary Mike Pompeo said Friday in announcing the decision. So and of course the other lawmakers are saying, wait a minute, you're doing an end run around Congress. We're supposed to sign off on this. You can't just do this. Well, they said national emergency.
He's probably doing them a favor by not making them sign off on it.
Oh, maybe. Well, yeah, no, that could be. But the other thing, of course, this is Pompeo, who's one of the Pompeo and mustache guy, Bolton, or the warmongers from who knows where. But the point is that enhanced stability. I'm glad to see that, because the one way you can enhance stability is to invade another country and shoot everybody up.
Well, look, to me, this doesn't strike me as anything outside of the ordinary for the region. That is to say,
oh no, it's not.
We give billions of dollars to Israel and Egypt with the understanding that they're going to immediately turn around and spend it on
our stuff, right?
And so, and the Saudis obviously are like our favorite group over there in terms of customer and our trade relations.
Yeah, Israel gets we give Israel something like 3.1 billion.
Yeah.
And this is 8.1. So
yeah.
So who knows?
Well, we occasionally ratchet that up. I posted I've got a good image of all of the aid that we give out, and it's a lot.
Well, it's not that much.
Well, that's what.
Actually, not that
well,
much.
relative to our entire payout,
it's relative
not.
to our discretionary even portion of the budget,
right?
Which is about a third of the budget is discretionary.
This is U.S. foreign aid as a percentage of the budget in 2012. So a tiny bit there, but it is billions. It's enough to roil the area. But all right, so whatever. So
I just thought I'd mention it because I just as I say, to enhance stability, I'm looking at this thinking, well, you say anything. Now here's the next thing: Trump is not doing enough to thwart the Russian 2020 meddling. Experts say. Right.
Experts,
top men.
Yes.
Right. Top.
Now I'm glad you brought this up, because this to me is the next battleground.
Is it?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
This to me seems like a
Talk
perfect
about a diversion.
Oh, it's perfect. This is perfect.
Nothing.
Now think about this. You ready? Here, I can hear Nancy saying this from the lectern right now.
Okay.
He's letting them. He's letting the Russians.
Yeah, it's right here.
He's letting the Russians interfere.
Yeah.
Our intelligence agencies are telling us that they're interfering, and he's not taking the necessary steps to stop them, clearly, because they're still doing it.
Right.
So he's letting them. He must be doing it because they're helping him.
I didn't hear that part of it, but that's the implication,
right,
obviously.
Right.
I mean, if there was any hint that the Russians were going to help the Democrat, she would be like silent.
Right. Well.
Silent.
Well, actually, you probably still blame it on him.
Yeah, right. That's true too.
But I mean, that seems to me like a natural battlefront, because there's nothing he can do about it. The intelligence agencies are going to always come out and say people are interfering with your elections, because people have been interfering with our elections since
We interfere with our elections.
well, right. I'm just saying you'd have to be crazy not to interfere with the U.S. elections because there's so much at stake. If you were another major player, and I gotta believe that all of the major players, at the very least, do tests and stuff, and
Yeah.
have little things going on, and bots and focus groups and whatever.
And it's not like, one of the things that did happen with, especially with the Facebook stuff that happened in 2016, was a lot of it was so obvious on its face. You're sitting there going, when they're saying things like, "We have no,"
Yeah.
and it's just in a Russian accent.
right.
You say
That R is backwards.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, I'm with you. It was not. This was not major influence, but it's a perfect attack ground. So
Well, and of course, what's interesting in a $2 or $3 billion election, when $200,000 is spent on trolling or whatever it is, you think, who's going to see it? Anyway, the intelligence warnings are growing that Russia will probably meddle in the 2020 elections, but Donald Trump and a powerful Senate ally are downplaying these concerns and not doing enough to thwart interfering, say Russia and cyber experts and key congressional Democrats.
Key top cyber
men.
experts.
Despite fears that Moscow may seek to influence 2020 by launching cyber attacks, social media disinformation, covert agent operations, and other, quote, active measures, as it did in 2016, adequate funding and White House focus to counter any new Russian meddling are lagging, experts say. So federal efforts to beef up election security, critics say, have been undercut by Trump's apparent willingness to accept Russian President Vladimir Putin's word that the country did not interfere with the 2016.
Right.
When he was over there.
He said, he said he didn't do it. So I believe him.
Yeah, right.
But he was standing right in front of the guy. That was such a loaded question. That was a Jim Acosta question.
Yeah, right.
Hey, did that guy next to you? Was he an asshole? Like.
But I mean, what's funny about this is the pot kettle black whatever is so. I mean, when we interfere in elections, we send troops down there.
Well, yeah,
CIA people.
That's a totally different story.
I get you say that, but it's called interference. And now we're talking about somebody writing a note on Facebook.
Yeah. Well, look, like I said, I'm with you. Interference in our elections hasn't been a story for the last 27 elections since I've been alive, even though everybody knows that it's been happening. I mean, I thought that was just, everybody just knew that. And now all of a sudden everybody's like, oh my God. Also, since you brought up Trump, we have to discuss the Muellers Statement.
Oh, I didn't see the whole thing.
Well, lucky for you.
Lucky for me. Okay, tell me what about it.
So, all right, well, Shapiro really nailed this one. If you want a detailed analysis of it, watch the first 30 minutes of Shapiro's show today.
Okay.
He goes over it part by part, and he basically parses it out perfectly. And look.
Now, this is Ben Shapiro, right?
Right, yeah. So, Mueller, it's pretty obvious to me, wanted Trump prosecuted, or he wanted Trump to face some kind of negative consequences. And that was from the one statement that I read, the legal pleading that I read of Mueller's that was filed in the case that had a whole bunch of extra damning language about Trump. It went on and on and on and on in a way that there was no purpose in terms of the legal filing. So he was playing to some audience.
Right.
And that's what he seemed to be doing today, or yesterday, whenever it was, when he basically said, look, the ball's in your court. And he basically softballed the impeachment thing. And he's saying...
To whose court? And ball's in whose court?
To the Congress.
Oh, Congress, okay.
He's saying, look, you guys are the only ones who can make a determination about that from here. The problem that he's up against is that obstruction, as you know, is a charge that you can be guilty of in the courts, even if there's no underlying charge.
Yeah, amazing.
Right? But that's not the standard in the court of impeachment. The court of impeachment is the court of public opinion.
Okay.
And the court of public opinion is not going to let you say that the president or anybody obstructed something that didn't ever happen. So it was proven by Mueller's report that there was no Russian interference that Trump had anything to do with, in the sense that when you don't make a charge, that's proof in our system.
Okay.
If you don't indict. So there's if Trump wasn't guilty of the underlying situation, then they're not going to be able to sell that to the public in terms of obstruction. In other words, all of his actions you can now understand from the perspective of him knowing that he hadn't colluded with the Russians, and that's how they would pitch it to the public. And
Yeah,
so
Scott Adams said the same thing. He always knew.
Yeah.
He was the only person that knew he had never done anything like
that's
this.
right. And so from his perspective, he can't form the state of mind that would be required for obstruction.
Right.
Because he believes that he's not that he didn't do anything wrong. I mean, so it's. And then it's also telling that Mueller didn't file charges against Don Jr., which I
Right.
thought was the
Didn't file charges against Hillary. No, that was not Mueller. That was Comey.
yeah, right. But yeah, that was
group.
even more egregious.
Yeah.
But the weakest person in the Trump field was Don Jr. from the standpoint of he was susceptible to an attack, a legal attack, for just misstating about whether or not that Trump Tower meeting happened.
Okay.
And even though there was nothing that transpired at that meeting, ultimately it was decided, the fact that he didn't state that right away and then later tweeted out, I think, is how he revealed that there was an actual meeting, made him vulnerable. And since they didn't even go after him for that, that tells me that Mueller was thinking, man, I'm not bringing this in front of a jury.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not happening. And that's the ultimate standard that you have to ask yourself when you're bringing a case is,
Well, now he's been called. Didn't Congress call him to testify like soon?
well, that's what this statement was all about.
Oh, okay.
This statement was him preempting the congressional subpoena.
Okay.
Basically, he
Okay.
came out. He's come out and said, "Look, everything I'm going to say. This is what I want to tell you," and they have to know at this point that he is on their side. And so he's given them the roadmap, and he's saying, "Don't go after Barr." He said he trusts Barr, and so he's like, "Don't even go after Barr, but go ahead and impeach Trump, and you run with the ball or whatever." And he presented all the information possible, everything negative that you could possibly come up with in the 400-page report.
Well, of course.
So-
Then the other thing though is that if that's all they got,
It's still nothing. That's what I'm saying.
and you think the Senate is going to convict?
No, they're not.
No. I mean, why are you going to waste? Well, because it's a
that's what-
diversion. It's a diversion.
Well, but see, that's why Nancy doesn't want to do it.
Right.
She doesn't want to do not now.
No.
They might do it like a couple of months, 6 months before the election.
Well,
so that they,
yeah, right.
so
okay,
that they
yeah.
can be talking about impeachment when the election happens.
Right.
And that's what you would do. You would and you could, if you could get the impeachment like the week before, if you could get him impeached like the week before the election, then you could say, well, the impeached president, the impeached president, the impeached president. You just say that over and over again.
Yeah.
So-
And it's amazing. Of course, almost everybody believes that impeachment is guilty.
No, I know, but whatever.
Okay.
They'll figure that out. But it'll all come down to the economy again, I think. But the economy is not growing. I mean, 2% growth is not.
Well, not only that, inflation, whether you like it or not, is
It's
keeping
coming
pace
home.
and is
Yeah.
wiping all that out. Mike Pence, he apparently went up to West Point to give the graduation speech.
Okay.
Vice President Mike Pence told the most diverse group, and it's interesting, I saw the...
Boo! No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, you're right, no. The most diverse graduating class, and of course it's women and gay and, well, I mean, who knows how would. Mostly mostly white guys, but still diverse. In the history of the U.S. Military Academy, that the world is a dangerous place and they should expect to see combat.
Well, sure, why not?
Some of you will join the fight against radical Islamic terrorists in Afghanistan and Iraq. Whoa, I mean, Afghanistan, 17 years or something, and he counted.
And still going strong.
So he said, congratulate him on graduating and so forth. And as you accept the mantle of leadership, I promise you that Donald has your back. He's your best friend of the men and women in your armed forces have. It's a virtual certainty that you will fight on a battlefield for America at some point in your life. You will lead soldiers in combat. It will happen. And some of you may be even called upon to serve in this hemisphere. I'm sitting there thinking, what are you talking about?
Okay, we got your orders. You're going to invade Mexico.
Yeah. I mean, in this hemisphere, what are you talking? I mean, Venezuela.
There you go.
I just, why would
Cuba.
Cuba, right? Exactly.
Going in.
Yeah, now this time we're going to go over to the Bay of Hogs.
And Canada.
And Canada, right? What do they know? They're a little too friendly anyway. So, yeah, I just think that of all the speeches you could give, I mean, this is one of the two real, it's a war enhancement viewpoint or something, not warmonger. But anyway, he's one of them. Well, Mrs. Jimmy hates that phrase.
So you've been ordered. Corporate. You have a note from corporate coming down.
Corporate. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
you can't say warmonger.
Yeah, of course she's Trump, whatever. Hate makes a comeback in the Pacific Northwest.
Okay.
Nearly 2 decades after the Aryan nation's Idaho compound was demolished, far-right extremists are maintaining a presence in the Pacific Northwest. And this is all, in the Idaho.
Are they maintaining a presence, or are they making?
Well, they are. White nationalism has been on the rise across the U.S., but has been particular resonance along the Idaho-Washington border, where the Aryans exposed hate and violence for years.
Mm-hmm.
Now, of course, what you do understand is it's not so much hate and violence as it is a rebellion against, not a rebellion, they're not real crazy about the government. They want to withdraw, is what they want to do. They want to withdraw from the government. Don't bother me, like Ruby Ridge, don't bother me.
I was just going to say, the Northwest.
And Waco, don't bother me, go away.
What people are in the Northwest other than white people?
Here, I'm going to tell you.
Okay.
It says the neo-Nazi group was based near Hayden Lake, Idaho, starting in the 70s, and was eventually bankrupted in a lawsuit brought by activists and the Southern Poverty Law Center. Its compound ceased and supporters dispersed. Now, what I like about all this...
Too many Eskimos up there?
No. There's apparently 4. I forget. It's like the American Pride group. There's the Boys of America or whatever. There's about 4 or 5 different groups.
No. What I'm asking is that if this is a white nationalist group, who are the non-whites up in the Pacific Northwest? I mean, there's not any. There's maybe some
Indians.
Hispanic people. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And like 1 out of 100 or something.
Yeah.
I mean, how much hate do you have to hate like the one guy in the city who's not the?
Well, of course, a lot of it, as was we've seen in the past, is these people are preparing for the Armageddon.
Right. That's what I think you're right about that. I think it's more of an anti-government group.
Right. I'm sure it is. I mean, that's what Look. This country was founded on anti-government
by nuts with guns, right?
Yeah, right. So, but I thought it was interesting that it was the Southern Poverty Law Center said the number of hate groups is growing in the U.S. By a toxic political culture. The human rights group, I love that they call them human rights group, which is a joke. They counted 784, not 785, not 783, but 784 active hate groups in the U.S. in 2014. And 1,020 in 2018. So I haven't exactly done the math, but we're talking about 200 or more, additional hate groups, according to the Southern Poverty Law Center. Now, please note, only the Southern Poverty Law Center considers these groups white supremacists, not the FBI, not the Gang Task Force. No one but liberal snowflakes, Proud Boys, for instance, have several minority members and include blacks and Hispanics. By comparison, the SPLC does not consider the Black Lives Matter, CARE, or Antifa as hate groups. So, I mean, as I say, I've said for years that why is the SPLC given any credibility at all when you go through the list of their 1,000 hate groups? It's a joke. I mean, there's hundreds of them that are not hate groups at all. They have an opinion.
Well, I think they're on their way out, pretty much, or something.
God, I hope so.
Well, they've just got their big $100 million
endowment. I know people contribute. I mean, I don't exactly know, but I just think that, to me, this is another instance of why people quote these people. What was it? I know that Shapiro and some other people are saying that they're not going to name the terrorist people, the guy, the shoot 'em up guy. We're not going to bring that. We're not going to name the name because it makes them popular. Or who it is. I'm the same way with SPLC. I don't know why you even quote them. I mean, they're not a reliable source for a hate group.
Southern Poverty Hate Center?
Yeah, exactly. Ooh, that's a good line. I like that. Wait a minute. Let's get some SPLC. Yeah, okay. I'll think about that. I'll bring that one. Now, there's a big. We're coming here towards the end.
Okay.
Quick. I mean, just oh God. Okay. The first thing you notice at the American Psychiatric Association meeting is its size.
Okay.
By conservative estimates, a quarter of the psychiatrists in the United States are packed into a single giant San Francisco convention center with more than 15,000 people. And of course, you know how many ads there are all around there for drugs. I mean, the place is buried in drug reps. I mean, it's and even seduced doctors who might prescribe their drug. Well, it turns out that having 15,000 psychiatrists in one building sparks a drug company feeding frenzy that makes piranhas look sedate. And I was looking at the pictures, and I mean, the sponsorships of everything. I mean, even the escalators on the sides are marked with these, and they're all over. And of course, it tapers off, like it reaches crescendo in the San Francisco where they're holding this thing, and then it tapers out, like an anthill. And this, you can, as you walk in, you see more and more ads for these drugs, and of course the reps are there. I don't know if they have 15,000 psychiatrists, but I would guess that there's 15,000 reps there too to push it. And this is what psychiatrists, because they're the ones that can prescribe stuff.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And so I don't know how many psychologists are there, but the psychiatrists really show up.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting. And this is one. Of course, the other thing that happens is that book. I forget what it's called. The book of pathologies that they have, DS1 or PS2 or whatever the hell it is. It's up to like number 7 or 8 now, and each year it gets thicker and thicker and thicker about the pathologies that you're allowed to. ADHD wasn't even a thing 20 years ago.
What?
Yeah, no. I know. Okay, the next thing. Let me just go through here real quick. You don't want to. I don't want to talk about the tornadoes. The Russian. Yeah, okay, here's the last thing I got. This Russia whistleblower is serving 5 years in jail for leaking one document. Her name is Reality Winner.
Oh, yeah.
That's her name, Reality Winner.
Yeah.
She's a U.S. Air Force veteran, was sentenced to a prison for more than 5 years in 2018 as part of a deal which she pleaded guilty to leaking a classified NSA document providing details of a 2016 Russian cyber attack on a supplier of U.S. voting software. Winner, 27, who worked in the Air Force's drone program, serving the longest sentence ever given to a journalistic source by a federal court, according to the DOJ. Her supporters argue that other figures of the investigation into Russian interference in 2016 have received far more lenient treatment. Maria Butina, who was actual Russian, and she was a member of the NRA and all that kind of stuff. And I don't think she ever did anything, but she got pleaded guilty to conspiracy, and she's in for a year and a half. And of course, the general, whatever it was, what was the general that had his biographer girl? He when he's doing the biography, he mentioned
Petraeus.
Petraeus, right? Yeah. He got probation.
Right. Well, look, this. Go ahead.
So anyway, what's happened is with her, as with most people, like this, the Russian girl has granted, she's in jail and she's an item, and the journalists go in there, they interview her and everything like that, and she has stories written about her and so forth. They won't let anybody get near this Reality Winner person.
Well, a lot of stuff has been written about her, though. I can tell you.
Maybe, but
her dad is very vociferous. He's out there trumpeting her story. And she was the first one that went down. And as I recall, she basically walked in there and took the plea. And so they gave her the 5 years. And versus you got Butina, who fought it. And so obviously Petraeus had the best legal counsel available.
Yeah, right.
And now the problem is that it was pretty cut and dry from Winner's perspective. I mean, she took the document and gave it to the press, basically.
Well, she gave it to somebody who gave it to the press. Was that okay?
I mean, it was a pretty direct causal relationship. There's no.
You're right, because it said in the article that she held it in her drawer for a couple of days before she actually thought about handling it.
Yeah, maybe so, but
still, she did it.
Right.
The document.
And they certainly did not treat Bradley Manning with kid gloves in terms of, he was the analogous person. Of course, he turned over, hundreds of thousands of documents.
Right.
But
right.
He was the military personnel who reached out, and if you're going to get anybody, that's the person that you get. Of course, now
Of course, he was in for what, 3 years?
Something like that.
And then released, but he's back in jail, I guess, for contempt.
He's gone back in a couple of times. I think right now, back in again.
Yeah, I know. I think he is too. But it's interesting. At this point, he hasn't served 5 years, and she's in supposedly for 5.
Yeah.
So anyway, the warden at each facility is responsible for the orderly running of the institution and the safety and security of the staff, inmates, and visitors. Thus, decision of the warden with respect to interview requests and access to the facility his decision is final. And so what's apparently is they're the Freedom of Information people and the National Review and all these other people that have been begging for an interview, not even a telephone interview. And he's denied it all. And of course you're wondering what can she possibly tell? And like you said, the father's out there, but what does he know?
Right.
What they're saying is that she's basically, for all intents and purposes, she's in solitary confinement. For what? This apparently this document wasn't all that threatening. She exposed the cyber attack from Russia.
To me, it very well may be tied up with the beginnings of the whole Russia investigation.
Could be, yeah.
In some way, it may come out in the future. I thought about bringing up her story last week because it's an interesting one.
Well, one of the things you got to be careful of when you read this story, and you keep reading her name, Reality Winner.
Yeah, I know.
And you go, wait, I'm sorry. Wait, she was on a reality show. And
I know.
It's just who is this person?
Yeah.
It took
but
me
she's got a neat story, as I recall. Her backstory is.
Oh my God, she's like a seven. She served in overseas, I think. Mm-hmm. She was she won awards.
Yeah.
She commendations for valor and all that other crap.
Yeah.
She was an important person, and now she's this. I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, Veterans Day, you could have let her out. She's not a veteran. Okay. So anyway, that's about it from.
That's all you got? Okay, yeah. I got one little thing. We're right at the end here. Mount Everest traffic jam.
Yes, I saw that. Oh my God, they're stumbling over the bodies.
Yeah. So I got a solution. Raise the price.
Yeah.
They're charging something like $11,000.
Yeah.
For a license. They'll make it $100,000.
Yeah.
That'll cut down on the traffic.
Yeah.
And keep the revenue coming in.
Yeah. That's a thought. So it's like and you're right. I mean, you think about the safaris and everything, the elephant killers and everything that out there. You charge big bucks for that.
Seriously. And people are dying. Then we want to ensure safety. So guess what? You're paying triple. You're paying 10 times.
Yeah.
And those people, man, the people who are doing that, the Americans anyway, they got the cash. $11,000, they got $11,000 shoes on at that point.
Well, not only do they have $11,000 shoes and ropes and everything else,
right.
But it costs them $11,000 there round trip.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Forget it.
So a tour of 6 people or whatever could chip in for a $100,000 license, and Nepal could still make its $3 million or whatever it gets.
You have to pay extra for the Sherpa.
Well, I mean that's what I'm saying is that they're not the Sherpas and Nepal have not properly monetized. They've not properly priced.
Fools!
I'm telling you.
What a bunch of numbnuts! You idiots!
People are dying.
Yeah,
they're literally.
Well, they said they're. I don't know if it was literally tripping over, but there was like 11 people.
Yeah, I've read a couple of stories about that, but so there you go.
How much oxygen is there? 25,000.
Oh, there's none. At that point, when they're right up at the top there, you're breathing out of those bottles.
Well,
that's what the problem is.
The guy that just died was going to try and make it without the oxygen, I think.
Well, I don't know. You got to be a Sherpa. You got to have Sherpa blood or something.
Yeah, no, that's right.
So hey, everybody, thanks for joining us. Gene, John, Dan, Caroline, I hope you guys had a good...
Is that Caroline? Is it Miss Shep?
Miss Shep, it sure is.
All right, good deal.
Hey, hi to Lee's and everybody. So, let's see.
I tell you, if you have friends that that would like to hear the show and they weren't here today, it'll be on YouTube here in about an hour or two.
Yes, it will.
And the entire show
Over on the Jimmy Doane channel.
the Jimmy Doane channel on YouTube, and you say just the audio version if you don't want to look at it. Will be on iTunes or Listen or.
The YouTube's great because you can skip around.
That's true. You mark it with various timestamps so you can skip right to the part where we trumps on something.
And we're also on Twitter.
Yeah.
And so anyway, these tracks brought to you by Kevin MacLeod. We thank Kevin for his license to use these things. Thank you very much. We will be back on Sunday.
Oh, that'll be in June.
That's right, June the 2nd. So it's nice and hot down here in Florida.
God, it is too. It's beastly.
Hope you guys are staying indoors if you're down.
You're down here, I'll tell you, we're in a heat wave.
By the pool.
I saw a cartoon and it showed God sitting in front of the television set, and somebody walks in and they said, "What are you watching?" And in the background there's this furnace going. He says, "I'm watching Florida."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. So, all right. I'm Counselor Curtis. This is Jimmy Doane Show. We'll see y'all real soon.